I still remember the weight of that receipt in my hand. $100,000. Written in sharp, precise handwriting below 5 words that would change everything. You have 72 hours. Run? Let me back up. My name is Lena Ward, and 3 days ago, I was nobody. Just a waitress at Rosewood Diner, working double shifts to keep the lights on in my studio apartment. The kind of person you'd walk past on the street and forget 5 seconds later. I liked it that way. Invisible meant safe. Invisible meant the past stayed buried. It was 11 p.m. on a Tuesday when he walked in. The diner was empty except for old Joe nursing his coffee at the counter and Maria finishing her shift in the kitchen. I was wiping down tables, counting down the minutes until closing, when the door chimed. He stood in the doorway like he owned the place. Tall, maybe 6'2", wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. Dark hair, darker eyes, and the kind of face that made you think of corporate boardrooms and hostile takeovers. I recognized him immediately. Everyone in the city knew Damian Cross. Billionaire CEO, real estate mogul. The man who could buy and sell companies before breakfast. And he was standing in my diner at 11 p.m., looking at me like I was the only person in the world. I grabbed a menu and walked over, trying to ignore the way my hands wanted to shake. Rich people made me nervous. They always wanted something. Welcome to Rosewood. Sit anywhere you'd like. He chose the booth in the corner, the one with the view of the parking lot. I noticed that. Noticed how his eyes scanned the room before he sat down. Noticed how he positioned himself with his back to the wall. What can I get you? Steak, however the chef makes it, and black coffee. I wrote it down, even though I'd remember. His voice was quiet but absolute. The kind of voice that didn't need to be raised to be heard. That'll be right up. I turned to go, but his hand moved across the table, not touching me, just placing something down with deliberate care. A business card? No, not a card. A receipt. From our own register. But the numbers written on it made my stomach drop. Tip, $100,000. I stared at it, then at him. His expression gave away nothing. I think you made a mistake, I said, my voice barely working. No mistake, but you need to read the back. My fingers trembled as I flipped it over. 5 words in that same sharp handwriting. You have 72 hours. Run. The receipt felt like it was burning my skin. I looked up, but he was already standing, heading for the door. Wait, what is this? What are you talking about? He paused at the door, glanced back. For just a second, something flickered in his eyes. Sympathy? Warning? I couldn't tell. There's a phone number on that receipt. Call it at midnight. Come alone. And Lena? He knew my name. How did he know my name? Don't trust anyone. Then he was gone, disappearing into a black car that pulled up. The instant he stepped outside, I stood there holding that receipt, my heart hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Old Joe was staring at me. Maria had poked her head out from the kitchen. You okay, honey? Maria asked. I nodded, unable to speak. I shoved the receipt into my apron pocket and somehow finished my shift on autopilot. But my mind was racing. $100,000, 72 hours, run. What the hell was happening? By the time I got home, it was almost midnight. I lived in a walk-up studio on the east side, the kind of place where the radiator clanked and the neighbors were always fighting. I locked the door behind me, triple-checked it like I did every night, and pulled out the receipt. The phone number was written in small digits at the bottom. I stared at my phone. Every instinct screamed at me to ignore this, to throw the receipt away, to pretend Damian Cross had never walked into my life. But $100,000, that money could change everything, pay off my debts, get me out of this city, give me a fresh start, and that message. You have 72 hours, run. Run from what? At 11:58 p.m., I dialed the number. It rang once, twice, then his voice, cold and direct. You called. Good. Who are you? What is this? My name is Damian Cross, but you already know that. What you don't know is that 3 days ago, someone put a $2 million contract on your life. I just bought you time. The room tilted. I grabbed the edge of my counter to steady myself. That's impossible. I'm nobody. Why would anyone... 6 months ago, you witnessed a murder outside Rosewood Diner. A man in a dark suit shot execution style in the parking lot. 2:37 a.m. You were taking out the trash. My blood went cold. I remembered that night. God, how could I forget? I'd heard the gunshot, seen the body, watched a black SUV speed away. I'd stood there frozen, trash bag still in my hand, for what felt like hours. When I finally went inside, I told myself I imagined it. When I came back out, the body was gone. No blood, no evidence, nothing. I never reported it. I told myself it was a nightmare, that I'd been working too many doubles and my mind was playing tricks. But it was real. How do you know about that? I whispered. Because the man who pulled the trigger is Marcus Hale, and he knows you saw him. Marcus Hale. I'd heard that name before. Real estate developer, philanthropist, always in the society pages, shaking hands with mayors and senators. If he knows I saw him, why am I still alive? Because he wasn't sure. You didn't go to the police. You didn't tell anyone. He's been watching you for 6 months, waiting to see if you'd talk. 3 days ago, he decided you were a loose end that needed cutting. I sank onto my bed. The phone pressed so hard against my ear it hurt. This couldn't be happening. This couldn't be real. Why do you care? Why are you helping me? There was a long pause. When Damian spoke again, his voice was different, harder, personal. Because Marcus Hale killed my sister 5 years ago and made it look like a car accident. I've been hunting him ever since, and you're the only person alive who can prove what he is. I can't testify. You don't have a choice, Lena. If you run, he'll find you. If you hide, he'll find you. If you stay silent, you're dead within the week. But if you help me, I can protect you, and we can put him away forever. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped the phone. This was insane, all of it. How do I know I can trust you? You can't. But right now, I'm the only chance you've got. There's a car outside your building. Black sedan. Get in it. Bring nothing. Leave your phone. You have 5 minutes. Wait, I can't just... 4 minutes and 40 seconds. The line went dead. I sat there paralyzed. Every rational part of my brain screamed at me to stay put, to call the police, to do anything except get in a car with a strange billionaire who claimed to be saving my life. But then I thought about that night 6 months ago. The sound of the gunshot, the man's body crumpling. The way the SUV had circled back, slowly, like they were making sure. They knew. They'd always known. I grabbed my jacket and ran. The sedan was exactly where he said it'd be. Black tinted windows, engine running. The back door opened as I approached. I took a breath and got in. The interior was leather and expensive cologne, but I barely noticed because Damian Cross was sitting across from me, his face half in shadow. Smart choice, he said. I haven't made any choice. I'm here for answers. Then let's start with the truth. Marcus Hale isn't just a killer. He's a ghost. He's built an empire on blackmail, murder, and leverage. He owns half the city. Judges, cops, politicians. Everyone who matters is either on his payroll or terrified of him. Then how are you not dead? A grim smile. Because I'm rich enough to be dangerous and careful enough to stay alive. But 3 weeks ago, Marcus made a mistake. He tried to blackmail me using fabricated evidence that I'm involved in securities fraud. He wants my company, my assets, everything. What does that have to do with me? Everything. Because in 2 days, there's a charity gala at the Grandview Hotel. Every major player in the city will be there, including Marcus. It's live streamed, recorded, completely public. If you testify there, if you identify him as the man you saw commit murder, his house of cards collapses. No amount of money or influence can save him from a public accusation backed by evidence. What evidence? I didn't record anything. I didn't take pictures. Damian reached into his jacket and pulled out a tablet. He tapped the screen and turned it toward me. Security footage, grainy, time-stamped. The parking lot of Rosewood Diner, 6 months ago. I watched myself take out the trash, watched a man in a suit, walk into frame, watched the muzzle flash, watched him fall, and then I watched someone else step out of the shadows. Marcus Hale, clear as day, standing over the body. How do you have this? I breathed. Because I've been investigating him for 5 years. I knew he used that parking lot for his dirty work. I had cameras installed 8 months ago. I've been waiting for him to slip up. Then why do you need me? You have proof. Because that footage was obtained without a warrant. It's inadmissible in court. But your eyewitness testimony isn't. With you, we have a case. Without you, this video is worthless. I stared at the screen, at Marcus Hale's face, at the casual way he'd walked away from a murder. He'll kill me before I ever reach that microphone. Not if I protect you, starting now. The car pulled up to a building I'd only ever seen on TV. The Cross Tower, 75 stories of glass and steel, dominating the city skyline. This is where you live? Penthouse, 40 armed security guards between the lobby and my front door. Bulletproof glass, facial recognition at every entry point. Safest place in the city. Or the most obvious trap. If I wanted you dead, Lena, you'd be dead. I need you alive. Fair point. I followed him into the building, through a private elevator that required a fingerprint scan. We rode up in silence. I watched the numbers climb. 50, 60, 70. When the doors opened, I stepped into luxury that made my head spin. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the entire city. Modern furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Art on the walls that probably cost more than my entire life. Make yourself comfortable. There's a guest suite down the hall. Everything you need is there. For how long? 48 hours. Then we go to the gala. You identify Marcus, and it's over. Just like that. Just like that. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe this would all be over in 2 days. But nothing in my life had ever been that simple. I found the guest suite. It was bigger than my apartment. There was a closet full of clothes in my size. How did he know my size? And a bathroom with a shower that had more settings than my car. I locked the door and sat on the bed, trying to process everything. 24 hours ago, I was a waitress. Now I was hiding in a billionaire's penthouse, preparing to testify against a murderer. I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Every sound made me jump. Every shadow looked like a threat. At 6 a.m., there was a knock on my door. I opened it to find Damian standing there with coffee and a manila folder. We need to prepare you. Prepare me for what? For the gala. You need to look like you belong. Act like you belong. Marcus can't know you're coming for him until it's too late. He opened the folder. Inside were documents, photographs, a complete dossier on Marcus Hale. Memorize his face, his habits, his associates. You need to be able to identify him without hesitation. I flipped through the pages. There were dozens of photos. Marcus at charity events, Marcus shaking hands with the mayor, Marcus at construction sites, groundbreaking ceremonies, galas. And then I saw a photo that made my stomach turn. Marcus standing outside Rosewood Diner, just standing there, staring at the building. The date stamp was from 2 weeks ago. He's been watching me. He owns the building your diner is in. He's been watching you for months. I felt sick. All those shifts, all those nights I'd walk to my car alone. He could have killed me anytime. Why didn't he? Because he's careful. He needed to be sure you were a threat before he acted. 3 days ago, one of his men spotted you looking at old news articles about unsolved murders. That's when he decided you were too dangerous to leave alive. I remembered that. I'd been on my laptop during a break, scrolling through local news. I'd seen an article about a body found in the river and wondered if it was connected to what I saw. Just idle curiosity. It had almost gotten me killed. The next 48 hours are going to be intense, Damian said. I have people coming to help you prepare. Security experts, a stylist, a media coach. You need to be ready. I'm a waitress. I've never been to anything like this. That's why we're starting now. The next 2 days were a blur. People came and went from the penthouse. A woman named Sarah taught me how to walk in heels without falling. A man named Marcus, ironically, taught me self-defense basics. A stylist named Jenna brought a dozen dresses and settled on a midnight blue gown. That made me look like someone I didn't recognize. But it was the late-night conversations with Damian that stuck with me. We'd sit in his living room after everyone left, the city lights sprawling below us, and he'd talk about his sister, about the car accident that wasn't an accident, about the 5 years he'd spent building a case against Marcus Hale. Her name was Claire, he said one night. She was 23, brilliant. She was about to expose one of Marcus's shell companies for fraud. 2 days before her report was due, her car went off a bridge. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Help me make sure she didn't die for nothing. There was something raw in his voice, something broken. I realized then that this wasn't just about justice for him. It was about revenge, about making the man who destroyed his family pay. And I was his weapon. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep again. I found Damian on the balcony, staring out at the city. Having second thoughts? He asked without turning. About 1,000 of them. It's not too late to back out. Yes, it is. You said it yourself. If I run, he finds me. If I hide, he finds me. This is the only way. He turned to face me. In the dim light, he looked younger, more human. I need you to know something. If this goes wrong tomorrow, if Marcus figures out what we're doing, it's going to get ugly. I can't guarantee your safety. Then why are you doing this? Why risk everything for revenge? Because it's not revenge. It's justice. There's a difference. I wasn't sure I believed that, but I nodded anyway. Get some rest, he said. Tomorrow changes everything. The day of the gala arrived. Jenna came early to do my hair and makeup. Sarah helped me into the dress. By the time they were done, I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. I looked like I belonged in Damian's world, like I was someone important, someone powerful. It was terrifying. Damian met me in the living room, wearing a tuxedo that made him look even more intimidating than usual. He stopped when he saw me. You look perfect. I feel like a fraud. Good. That means you're selling it. A car was waiting downstairs. We rode to the Grandview Hotel in silence. I watched the city pass by, wondering if this would be the last time I saw it. If Marcus would somehow figure out what we were planning. If I'd be dead before midnight. The hotel was massive. Red carpet, photographers, security everywhere. Damian took my arm as we walked in, and I tried to remember everything Sarah taught me. Head up, shoulders back, smile like you own the room. Inside, the ballroom was stunning. Crystal chandeliers, tables draped in white silk, a stage at the far end with a podium and massive screens, cameras everywhere, recording everything. Stay close to me, Damian murmured. Marcus will be here soon. We found our table near the front. Other guests were arriving, men in tuxedos, women in gowns. Everyone looked rich. Everyone looked powerful. And then I saw him. Marcus Hale walked in like a king entering his throne room. Silver hair, expensive suit, a smile that made my skin crawl. People gravitated toward him, shaking his hand, laughing at his jokes. He was 20 feet away from me, the man who'd murdered someone in cold blood, the man who'd tried to have me killed, and he had no idea I was here. Breathe, Damian whispered. Don't look at him. Not yet. The evening began. Dinner was served. Speeches were made. I barely heard any of it. My entire focus was on Marcus, on the stage, on the moment when everything would either work or fall apart. Finally, Marcus stood to give his speech. The room fell silent. The cameras focused on him. He walked to the podium with easy confidence. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. Your generosity supports causes that change lives. I felt Damian tense beside me. This was it. The moment we'd been planning for. Marcus was about to give his speech, and then Damian would request an impromptu interview for the live stream. They'd invite me up. I'd identify Marcus. The footage would go viral before Marcus could shut it down. It was a perfect plan. And then the screens went black. The entire ballroom fell into confused silence. People murmured. Security moved toward the stage. Marcus frowned, looking at the technicians. Then the screens flickered back to life. But it wasn't the live stream. It was security footage of Damian Cross, meeting with men I didn't recognize, exchanging folders, shaking hands. A voice boomed through the speakers. Marcus's voice. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm afraid I have disturbing news. The man you know as Damian Cross has been selling confidential company information to my competitors. What you're watching is proof of corporate espionage. No, 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 no. I looked at Damian. His face had gone pale. This is wrong, he said. This is fabricated. But no one was listening. The screens kept showing more footage, more meetings, more exchanges. It looked damning. It looked real. Federal agents appeared from the wings, moving toward our table. Marcus's voice continued. And his accomplice, the woman who helped him access secured files, is sitting right here in this room. A spotlight hit our table, hit me. Every eye in the room turned toward me. Ladies and gentlemen, meet Lena Ward, a waitress who Damian Cross paid to help him destroy me. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. This was supposed to be our moment, our trap for Marcus. But we were the ones caught. Damian stood, his hands raised. This is a lie. He's framing us. Then why is there footage of you two meeting in secret for weeks? Marcus smiled from the stage. Why are there financial records showing payments from your accounts to hers? The agents were getting closer. Cameras were everywhere, broadcasting this disaster to the world. I looked at Damian, panic rising. You said this would work. You said we'd be safe. I know, Lena, listen to me. But I was already moving, already running. I pushed through the crowd, ignoring the shouts, the cameras, the chaos. I had to get out, had to think. I burst through the ballroom, doors, and ran for the exit. Behind me, I heard more shouting. Security, agents. I made it to the street and kept running. I didn't know where I was going, didn't care. I just ran until my lungs burned and my legs threatened to give out. Finally, I collapsed in an alley, gasping for air. My perfect dress was torn. My shoes were gone. Everything had fallen apart. Damian had used me. Marcus had outsmarted us. And now I was alone, hunted, with nowhere to go. I pulled out the burner phone Damian had given me on day one, the one I was supposed to destroy. I should have destroyed it, but there was one number programmed into it. Just one. I dialed. It rang and rang. Finally, a click. Lena! Damian's voice, strained. Where are you? You lied to me? You said this would work. I know. But you need to listen. That footage Marcus showed, it's fake. All of it. I never met with those people. Those weren't my accounts. How am I supposed to believe anything you say? Because I'm currently in federal custody, and I'm using my one phone call to warn you. Marcus has people looking for you right now. You need to get somewhere safe. There is nowhere safe. You promised me this would end, and it's worse. It's so much worse. Lena, please, I need you to trust me one more time. Why? Give me one reason why I should trust you. Silence. Then, quietly, because that night 6 months ago, when you saw Marcus kill that man, I was there. My blood ran cold. What? I was in the parking lot. I saw everything. I saw you take out the trash, heard the gunshot, saw you freeze. I watched you go inside. I watched you come back out. I watched you stare at the empty spot where the body had been. You were there this whole time. You knew. I've been watching Marcus for 5 years. I had cameras everywhere. But when I saw you witness that murder, when I saw you keep silent, I realized you were someone who could help me. So you set this up. All of it. You manipulated me. I gave you a choice. You could have said no. With a contract on my head, that's not a choice. Lena, listen to me. I recorded everything at the gala, every word Marcus said, every piece of fake evidence he showed. I have proof he's framing us. Then use it. Clear your name. I can't. Not from inside a federal holding cell, but you can. How? There's a safety deposit box at First National Bank. Box 237. The key is in the lining of your purse, the one from tonight. Inside the box is a USB drive. On that drive is everything. The real footage from 6 months ago. Marcus's financial records. Proof of his other murders. Everything we need to destroy him. Why didn't you use this at the gala? Because I needed him to make his move first. I needed him to publicly commit to framing us. Now, when we release the real evidence, it proves he's desperate, cornered, guilty. I wanted to scream, to throw the phone, to wake up from this nightmare. Even if I believe you, even if I get that drive, how does that help? You're in custody. I'm hunted. Marcus won. No, he thinks he won, but he made a mistake. What mistake? He showed his hand. He went public. The footage of him accusing us, trying to frame us, it's everywhere. Millions of people watched it live. And when you release the evidence that proves he's lying, the entire world will turn against him. There won't be any judges or cops he can bribe. It'll be too big to bury. I slumped against the alley wall. My mind raced. Could this actually work? Or was this just another manipulation? How do I know you're telling the truth? How do I know that USB drive isn't just another trap? You don't. But Lena, I'm asking you to trust me anyway. Not because you owe me, not because I've earned it, but because it's the only way to stop him. I closed my eyes. Thought about that night 6 months ago, about the man who died in that parking lot, about all the other people Marcus had probably killed, about Claire, Damian's sister, whose car had gone off a bridge, about the fact that I'd spent 6 months pretending I hadn't seen anything, and that silence had nearly gotten me killed. Where's the purse? I asked quietly. Hotel security confiscated it, but I pulled strings. It's being held at the main security office, 3rd floor. You can get in, through the service entrance on 52nd Street. You want me to break into the hotel, where Marcus's people are probably still looking for me? I want you to finish what we started. The line went dead. I sat there in that alley for a long time, staring at the phone. Every logical part of my brain said to run, to get on a bus and never look back. but I couldn't stop thinking about that man in the parking lot, about how his body had just disappeared, about how Marcus had walked away like it was nothing. I stood up, found some shoes in a nearby dumpster, gross but better than barefoot, tore my dress so I could move better, and I headed back to the Grandview Hotel. The service entrance was exactly where Damian said it would be, locked but not secured. I slipped inside, moving through back hallways I'd never seen as a guest. Kitchen staff rushed past, too busy to notice me. I found the service elevator, rode it to the 3rd floor. The security office was at the end of a long hallway. Through the window, I could see 2 guards watching monitors, and behind them, on a shelf, a row of clear bags containing confiscated items. I spotted my purse, the little clutch Jenna had given me for the gala. How was I supposed to get past 2 guards? I was about to give up when one of them stood, said something to the other, and walked out. Bathroom break? Smoke break? Didn't matter. 1 guard. I could maybe handle 1 guard. I waited until he turned back to his monitors, then knocked on the door. When he looked up, I put on my best desperate woman act. "Please, I need help. Someone's following me." He opened the door, concerned. "Ma'am, are you—" I need him in the groin, not proud of it. But it worked. He doubled over, and I pushed past him into the office, grabbed my purse, ran, behind me, shouting, radio chatter. But I was already moving, hitting the stairs, flying down 3 floors. I burst out onto the street and disappeared into the crowd. My hands shook as I opened the purse, felt along the lining. There, a small tear in the fabric. I reached inside and pulled out a key. Box 237. First National Bank was 6 blocks away. I walked quickly, head down, trying to blend in. The bank closed at 6 p.m. It was 5:47. I made it with minutes to spare. The safety deposit room was in the basement. A board attendant checked my key, matched it to the box, and left me alone in a small viewing room. I opened the box. Inside was a USB drive, exactly as Damian said, and a handwritten note. "Lena, if you're reading this, I'm either dead or arrested. Everything on this drive is real. I'm sorry I didn't tell you the whole truth from the beginning. I'm sorry I dragged you into my war, but thank you for not giving up. Claire would have liked you. Damian." I stared at the note, at his handwriting, so similar to the receipt from that first night. I pocketed the USB drive and left. Now what? I had the evidence. But I was one person with no resources, no platform, no way to get this information out before Marcus found me. Then I remembered. The gala had been live streamed, millions of viewers. And the platform used was Sightline Media, the city's biggest news network. If I could get to their offices, if I could get this drive to someone there, they could broadcast it, make it public before Marcus could stop it. Sightline's headquarters was 10 blocks north. I started walking. It was 7 p.m. when I reached the building. The lobby was mostly empty, just a security guard at the desk reading a magazine. I approached, trying to look legitimate despite my torn dress and stolen shoes. "I need to see someone in your news department. It's urgent." He barely looked up. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, but I have evidence about Marcus Hale, about the Damian Cross scandal." That got his attention. "Wait here." He made a call. Minutes later, a woman in her 30s appeared. All business. "I'm Rebecca Chen, senior producer. You said something about Marcus Hale?" I handed her the USB drive. "Everything you need is on here. Financial records, video evidence, proof that he's framing Damian Cross, proof that he's a murderer." She looked skeptical. "And you are?" "The woman Marcus accused tonight, Lena Ward." Her eyes widened. "You're supposed to be in custody." "I will be if you don't help me. Please, just look at what's on that drive. If I'm lying, turn me in. But if I'm not, if you're not, this is the biggest story of the year." She took the drive. "Come with me." I followed her upstairs to the newsroom. She plugged the drive into her computer, and we watched as files loaded. Dozens of folders, hundreds of documents, and one video file labeled "Parking Lot, June 15th. Rebecca clicked it. We watched the footage of Marcus Hale committing murder in crystal clear quality, watched him stand over the body, watched him make a phone call, watched his men arrive to clean it up. "Oh my God," Rebecca breathed. She opened more files, financial records showing Marcus's offshore accounts, evidence of bribery, blackmail, 3 other murders disguised as accidents. It was everything Damian said it would be. Rebecca grabbed her phone, started making calls. "Get everyone in here, now. We're going live in 30 minutes. 30 minutes? This can't wait. If Marcus realizes this evidence exists, he'll shut us down. We go now?" or we don't go at all. The next half hour was chaos, producers running everywhere, writers pulling together scripts, Rebecca personally verifying every file on the drive. And then, at 7:47 p.m., Sightline went live with a breaking news bulletin. Rebecca sat at the anchor desk, her face grave. Good evening. We're interrupting regular programming with breaking news regarding tonight's charity gala incident. We have obtained evidence that contradicts the allegations made by Marcus Hale against Damian Cross. Warning, some viewers may find the following content disturbing. They played the parking lot footage, all of it. Marcus shooting a man, making the call, cleaning up. Then they showed the financial documents, the bribery, the shell companies, and finally, they showed footage from the gala itself, but from different angles, showing how Marcus's evidence against Damian had been doctored, showing the timestamps were wrong, showing it was all fake. Rebecca looked straight into the camera. Marcus Hale is wanted for questioning in connection with multiple murders and fraud. If you have any information, the building shook. Somewhere below us, shouting, alarms. He's here, I said. Marcus is here. Rebecca's eyes went wide. Keep filming, she ordered her crew. Don't stop no matter what. The newsroom doors burst open. Marcus Hale strode in with 4 men in suits. His face was twisted with rage. Cut that feed, now. Rebecca stood her ground. We're live, Mr. Hale. The whole city is watching. I don't care. Cut it. Can't do that. Freedom of press. One of Marcus's men pulled out a gun. The camera operators kept filming. This was all going out live. Every second of it. Marcus saw me standing behind Rebecca's desk. His eyes locked onto mine. You did this. No, I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. You did this. 6 months ago when you killed a man and thought no one would care. That man was a traitor. He stole from me. So you murdered him, and then you tried to murder me for seeing it. You should have stayed silent. LSS Ward, you're free to go. We'll need you to come back tomorrow for more questions, but for tonight, you can leave. I stood. Damian stood with me. Where will you go? He asked. I don't know. My apartment doesn't feel safe anymore. The diner. I trailed off. I couldn't go back there. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. Stay at the penthouse, just for tonight, until you figure things out. Damian? Separate rooms, no strings, no expectations, just a safe place to sleep. You've earned that much. I was too tired to argue, too tired to be proud. I nodded. We took a car back to Cross Tower, rode the elevator in silence. When we reached the penthouse, Damian showed me to the guest suite, the same one I'd used before. There's food in the kitchen if you're hungry, clean clothes in the closet, everything you need. Thank you. He turned to leave, then paused. Lena, for what it's worth, you were incredible tonight. Claire would have been proud. He left before I could respond. I stood in that guest suite, still wearing my torn dress, covered in dirt and sweat and the remnants of the worst night of my life. And I started to cry. Not delicate tears, full body-shaking sobs. I cried for the man who died in that parking lot, for Claire, for my old life that was gone forever, for the innocence I'd lost when I decided to pick up that receipt and dial that number. But I also cried from relief, because it was over. Marcus was in custody. The truth was out. I was alive. Eventually, the tears stopped. I showered, changed into soft pajamas from the closet, crawled into bed, and for the first time in 3 days, I slept. I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then it all came rushing back. I found Damian in the kitchen making coffee. He looked like he hadn't slept. Morning, he said. How do you take it? Black. 2 sugars. He poured, handed me a mug. We stood there in his enormous kitchen, 2 people who'd been through war together, now facing the strange peace after. The news is calling you a hero, he said, nodding toward a tablet on the counter. The woman who brought down Marcus Hale. I looked at the screen. My face was everywhere. Grainy photos from the gala, screenshots from the Sightline broadcast, headlines calling me brave, courageous, a fighter for justice. I don't feel like a hero. Heroes rarely do. What about you? What are they saying about you? That I'm a whistleblower who risked everything to expose corruption. They're not wrong, but they're not entirely right either. Because you did it for revenge. I did it for Claire, Is that revenge or justice? I'm not sure anymore. My phone, the burner Damian had given me, buzzed. A text from Rebecca Chen. Sightline wants to interview you. Exclusive. They're offering to pay. I showed Damian. He read it and smiled. Take it. Tell your story. On your terms. Will you do it with me? If you want me there. I thought about it. About facing cameras. About reliving everything. About the world knowing my name, my face, my story. No, I said finally. This is my story. I'll tell it alone. Pride flickered in his eyes. Good. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. I did the interview. It went viral. Other networks called. Publishers wanted to buy my story. Lawyers offered to represent me in lawsuits against Marcus's estate. I said no to most of it. Took only what felt right. I left Damian's penthouse after a week. Found a small apartment on the west side. Nothing fancy, but mine. Paid for with the money from the Sightline interview. I didn't go back to Rosewood Diner. Couldn't. But I found work at a small cafe near my new place. The owner knew who I was, but didn't care. Said anyone who could handle what I'd handled could definitely handle the morning rush. Damian and I stayed in touch. Not every day. Not even every week. But enough. Coffee sometimes, dinner occasionally, slowly rebuilding something that looked like friendship from the wreckage of everything else. Marcus Hale's trial was set for 6 months out. I'd have to testify. Face him across a courtroom. Tell my story again. This time under oath. I wasn't looking forward to it, but I wasn't afraid either. One night, about 3 months after the gala, my phone rang. Damian's number. Hey, I answered. Hey, are you busy? Just got off work. Why? I'm at Rosewood Diner. Thought you might want to join me. My breath caught. You're where? I bought the building. Marcus's estate had to liquidate assets. I made an offer. Why would you do that? Because I'm turning it into something else. A community center, free legal aid, resources for people who need help. I'm calling it the Claire Cross Foundation. I was quiet for a long moment. That's good. That's really good. Come see it. I think you'd like what we're planning. I grabbed my jacket and headed out. The diner looked different even from the outside. The old sign was gone. Construction equipment sat in the parking lot, but the shape of it, the bones of it, were the same. I stood in that parking lot, on the exact spot where a man had died 6 months ago, where everything had started. Damian walked out of the building, hands in his pockets. You came. You didn't think I would? Wasn't sure. This place has a lot of bad memories for you. And some good ones. I worked here for 3 years before everything happened. Made friends. Had regular customers who knew my name. It wasn't all bad. No, it wasn't. We stood there in the fading light, in the parking lot where both our lives had changed forever. Want to see the plans? He asked. Yeah, I'd like that. He showed me blueprints, floor plans, a complete renovation that would keep the diner's heart while transforming everything else. Legal offices where the kitchen used to be, meeting rooms where the booths once sat, AAR, memorial wall with Claire's photo and the names of Marcus's other victims. It's perfect, I said. I want you to be part of it. If you're interested. Part of it how? Help run it. You know this neighborhood. You know the people. You understand what it's like to need help and not know where to find it. I looked at him, at the man who'd manipulated me, protected me, nearly gotten me killed, and ultimately helped me find strength I didn't know I had. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. We walked outside. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The city spread out around us, full of people living their lives, unaware of the battles fought in shadows. Do you ever regret it? I asked. The last 5 years, everything you gave up to catch Marcus? Every day. And not at all. Does that make sense? Yeah, it does. My phone buzzed. A text from my mom asking when I'd visit. She'd been worried since everything went public. I'd promised to come home soon. I should go, I said. Okay. But neither of us moved. Lena, there's something I need to tell you. What? That first night, when I walked into the diner, when I left you that receipt, I meant every word. You did have 72 hours. Marcus's people were planning to move on you that weekend. But there's something else. What else? I could have handled it differently, could have gone to the police with the evidence I had, could have found another way to protect you. But I chose you specifically because I saw something in you. The way you kept working, even when you were clearly exhausted. The way you treated old Joe with kindness when everyone else ignored him. The way you survived. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that yes, I manipulated you. Yes, I used you. But I also believed in you. From that very first moment, I knew you were stronger than you thought you were. And I was right. I didn't know what to say to that. Part of me was angry that he'd still been manipulating me even in that first meeting. Part of me was touched that he'd seen something in me worth believing in. Thank you for telling me, I said finally. I think. He laughed. Actually laughed. You're welcome, I think. I turned to leave, then stopped. Damian, about the foundation. About helping run it. Yeah? Ask me again in a month, when I've had time to think, to process everything, to figure out who I am now that I'm not running for my life. I can do that. I walked away from Rosewood Diner for what I thought might be the last time, but as I reached the corner, I looked back. Damian was still standing there, watching me go, making sure I got away safe. Some habits die hard. I turned the corner and disappeared into the city. 6 months later, I stood in a courtroom and testified against Marcus Hale, told the jury everything I'd seen, everything I'd been through, looked him in the eye and didn't flinch. The trial took 3 weeks. The verdict came back in 2 hours, guilty on all counts. Marcus Hale was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel vindicated. I just felt tired. But when I walked out of that courthouse, Damian was waiting. He'd been there every day of the trial, sitting in the back, silent support. It's over, he said. Yeah, it's over. What now? I took a breath, looked at the city around us, at the people going about their lives, at the world that had kept spinning even while mine fell apart and rebuilt itself. Now I go home, take a shower, sleep for about 12 hours, and then I paused. Then I want to see those foundation plans again, if the offer's still open. Damian smiled, really smiled. It's open. Good, because I have ideas, a lot of ideas. I wouldn't expect anything less. We walked together through the city, 2 people who'd been through hell and somehow made it out the other side. We didn't hold hands, didn't make promises about the future, just walked. And that was enough. 3 months after that, the Claire Cross Foundation opened its doors. I was there, ribbon in hand, standing next to Damian as news cameras recorded the moment. The building looked nothing like the old diner and everything like hope. People lined up on opening day, people who needed help, who had nowhere else to turn, who were facing their own battles against impossible odds. I greeted them one by one, learned their names, their stories, helped where I could. And every time I walked through those doors, every time I stood in the space where a man had once died, where my old life had ended and my new one began, I remembered. I remembered being nobody, being invisible, being scared. And I remembered choosing over and over again to fight instead of hide. That night, after the last person had left and the building was quiet, I stood in the parking lot one more time. Damian joined me. You did good today, he said. We did good. Yeah, we did. The city lights flickered on around us as darkness fell. Somewhere in that city, someone was probably in trouble. Someone was facing impossible odds. Someone needed help. But they'd have a place to go now, a place where people would listen, would believe them, would fight for them. All because 6 months ago, a billionaire walked into a diner and ordered a steak. All because a waitress decided to pick up the phone instead of running. Ready to go home? Damian asked. I looked at the building, at the foundation, at everything we'd built from the ashes of our pain. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. We walked to his car. He drove me to my apartment, like he'd done dozens of times before. We said goodnight, like we always did. But this time, before I got out, I turned back. Damian? Yeah? Thank you for seeing me, for believing in me, for giving me a chance to be more than I thought I could be. You did that yourself, Lena. I just handed you the receipt. I smiled. One hell of a receipt. One hell of a tip. I got out of the car and headed inside, climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, stepped into my small, safe space, and as I got ready for bed that night, I thought about everything that had happened. Every choice, every risk, every moment of terror and triumph. I thought about the woman I used to be, invisible, scared, small, and I thought about the woman I'd become, someone who fought back, someone who made a difference, someone who mattered. I fell asleep that night with a smile on my face because my story didn't end in that parking lot 6 months ago. It began there, and I couldn't wait to see what came next. If you made it this far, you're part of something bigger. This story of Lena and Damian, of ordinary people facing impossible odds and choosing to fight anyway, isn't just entertainment. It's a reminder that courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being terrified and moving forward anyway. So here's my challenge to you. Think about the receipt in your own life, that moment, that choice, that thing you've been avoiding because it feels too big, too dangerous, too impossible. Maybe it's standing up to someone who's wronged you. Maybe it's chasing a dream everyone says is unrealistic. Maybe it's simply choosing to be seen instead of staying invisible. What's your $100,000 receipt, and what are you going to do about it? Drop a comment below and tell me, what choice would you have made differently? What's the receipt you've been too afraid to pick up? And if this story moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently about courage and justice, hit that like button and subscribe. Because I've got more stories like this coming. Stories about ordinary people doing extraordinary things when the world demands they stay small. Remember, you're stronger than you think. You always have been. Now go pick up that receipt. Your 72 hours start now. See you in the next story. Stay brave.